Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the X-Men Retrospective. I am the demon, Travis Snail, and I'm joined by...
I'm the one man, Kirkland Patzer.
There you go.
I'm the misguided soul, Dylan Miles.
Ants Taterfield.
That's Kirkland too. Nice, very quick draw on the changing your name. If you watch the video, you can go see their names for a little bit what they used to be. Because me and Dylan were like, I couldn't remember for sure about yours and stuff like that. But, you know, here we are. We are in the final five. 5 episodes to go. No, sorry. 5 episodes we're recording for us. Not 5 episodes to go for the series, but the final 5 retrospective episodes. So, yeah, we're near the end. I think now, if you're following along and you want to watch along, every episode from now on is going to be just, it's 5, 5, 5. Because season 5 is only 10 episodes, and the rest of them kind of have these arcs. So yeah, the next one, so that's gonna keep it easy for you. It's always gonna be 5, but yeah, this is the final 5, and then we'll be on to, hopefully, the rumors are at the time of this recording, we got that it's gonna be early 2024. So of course we'll do like a predictions episode. We'll probably do like a mini rankings episode, just some maybe fair arcs or characters and stuff. So look out for that when we finish. But yeah, we are getting closer and closer to it, so it's very exciting. Let's talk about this. So we got 5 episodes of season 4. So we are doing season 4, episodes 6 to 11. If my computer is going to load this thing up, come on.
6 to 10, right?
6
Is
to
it
10.
6 to 10? Yeah, you're right. 6 to 10. I was just at it right now. Okay, season 4, episode 6, Courage. Very boring title, but you know, one we've been waiting for a bit here. The day Morph rejoins the X-Men, a terrorist attack in a top secret high-tech weapons factory goes down. The alert interrupts his homecoming party. So, Mr. Musk, what did you think? We lost Morph in season 2, and season 3 he's just been recovering, I guess, the whole time somewhere, getting his psyche ready. Big questions if it was ready, but what did you feel about the return of Morph here?
I was pretty let down by this episode. I mean, the episode in general had just like filler episode energy the whole way through. And then I just don't understand why we did this at all. Like, Morph rejoins the team, and then at the end he's like, yeah, actually, I'm not in it. He just like pieces out at the end. I guess I wish that if they were gonna do this thing of Morph coming back to the team, then like make him do that for a season, or like make it a 4 or 5 episode long string, have something like that. But I feel like generally, I don't know, it's weird because they oftentimes try to make these episodes exist in a vacuum, right? So that whatever a kid is watching this show, it's always like the same circumstances. But then they always do like 3 or 4 parters as well. So I don't know why they wouldn't do a longer string of episodes with Morph back in the team. So yeah, I was just pretty bored by this episode, and then I didn't really like how it ended either. It's like, why did we do any of this at all? So yeah, definitely a low point for me in this chunk of episodes.
Kirkland?
Yeah, I'm the notorious Morph hater on the podcast. I think he's a loser. I will say though, I see him a little bit better in a little bit better light after this episode, and I feel like it's just because of the action sequence, like him morphing into different heroes or villains. It's just like, man, like that's actually a really cool power, and I haven't seen that used up until this point. Like I think he switched into Angel. He was Omega Red at one point. Like that
Sasquatch.
showcase.
Yeah,
So, yeah, like all of that stuff. It's like, man, this could actually be extremely powerful abilities, and so.
But Morph's so mentally fucked up.
He's so mentally fucked. He's so unreliable.
I'm still so confused that like, does he get powers or not? Like Omega Red, I get like those tentacles are like, I guess, part of the body, but it's very ambiguous, like how much power he gets.
So I can't remember if it was this character specifically or it's characters like this, but I was listening to Marvel Alliance once, and Brent had mentioned, I think it was about Morph or something like that. And I think this way it is with Morph, where he can have access to these powers, but they are not as strong as if you were to find the prime version of it.
Okay.
So like if you like, maybe he has like a little healing factor, but if he's getting shot, he's probably dying. I don't think like he has the same strength that Sasquatch does. So it's like he can appear them and has the powers, but not to the same stratosphere. So that's what it was. So there we go.
The thing for me that was just badass was the way that he was just like chaining them. Like it's like, hey, I'm gonna use Omega Red to dispatch this person, Angel to fly and catch. So that was actually a really cool little sequence there. But that was just the peak of the episode for me. I think overall it was yeah, like Dylan said, kind of had filler vibes for me, especially just how it ended. It's like, I'm just gonna disappear again. It's like he came and went as fast as he came and went the first time around. So I didn't love the episode, but I have a little bit more respect for Morph. But he's got to fix that psyche. He's pretty unreliable. I liked it too how he just had that like Jubilee energy where it's like, yeah, you're gonna have to stay at the mansion. He's like, but I'm useful. I can do something. So kind of reminded me of her there.
Yeah, even Jubilee's like laughing at him that he has to stay back and they don't trust him.
That's when you know it's bad, when Jubilee is laughing at you. But I'll go just because I'll jump off something Kirkland said, that it will be interesting because I don't think he is in any more episodes that we're going to talk about. But he has been confirmed to be a roster of in 97.
Ooh.
So hopefully they kind of do something like he is finally repair, like he's gone through, and which is interesting because I was reading about this because I remember this, like I watched this episode, it's like I thought he was confirmed, and he is, because this time he's more confirmed. We've seen the photos where he's morphed, but he's just like white, like he's just like a non-distinguishable figure. The reason they're doing that is because now he is now going by they them in the show. So I didn't figure out why they made Morph look like that, because obviously he had taken the form of a guy many times. So that made me question, like, is this not what he naturally looks like? Has he picked a guy to look like the whole time? So I really don't know, but that almost does play into it if he has some psyche thing of trying to find himself and he comes back as like he's found himself more in a gender role that he's appropriate with. So that could be interesting. I hope they actually talk about it. It's not just like, oh yeah, they're they them and they look like this now. Like we've seen Disney do that a bunch of times, right? But I'll try to headcanon it. But again, they are confirmed because the two new members are Bishop and Morph. They're going to be fully on the team, so that's going to be interesting. So I'm wondering if we're going to lose some people, which we'll talk about in predictions. But I'm with Kirkland. I don't know if I'm a Morph hater, but I'm not a Morph enthusiast. I don't like him being on the main team. I'm torn because I think I'm with Dylan, where I think 4 to 5 episodes, you didn't even have to do a whole like part 1 of Morph, part 2 of Morph. Just have him there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after be like, you know what? I'm not ready for this. And that's fine. If he's not ready to be on the next Ben, he shouldn't be there. He'll put the whole team in danger. But I just think that Morph, I liked it. I like that Wolverine was chummy to see him, but I think they could have done a lot more with, and especially because it's the way we're reviewing it, right? Where we're reviewing in a more adult mind and critically. He's been gone for a season of a half. And we're like, what's this follow-up going to be with Morph? And there's not much to it. It's good. They seize everyone. There's a little arc, and then they decide, I'm not fit for this team anymore. So it was fine, but I think they could have done a lot more if Morph coming back. Even a 2-parter would have been great. So
it's even just adding on to that too. Like, there's so many episodes in which the X-Men roster, like some of them are just absent, and there's never an explanation. Like, oh, Rogue's just not here for like sometimes 3 or 4 episodes at a time. Gambit will be away. Storm will be busy. So even if they want to bring more from the show, you don't always have ideas for what to do with the character in an episode. Just like leave him on the bench, and it doesn't affect anything at all. So it is especially weird considering the show, at least for the last season and a half, I feel like has really just been like sometimes characters have just disappeared and they never explain why, even though their powers would be very helpful in the situation they find themselves in.
And I think that's at least one thing with the new show. I feel like that's not going to happen too much because I feel like they are going to write it in a bit more
cohesive.
Season 1 is this arc, because they've said there's a season 2 as well. So I feel like you'll of course get your offshoot episodes like, oh, this is just a fun episode with these set of characters. But I think there will be a bit more thought. And because I'm not saying they didn't think out these episodes, it was just a different era of television, right, where you didn't have to, it was just like you said for kids sometimes. So Taylor, what did you feel about Courage?
I kind of am on the same page with you guys. Like I do like Morph, and it's a shame that Morph is just done now. I was looking forward to the return, but the return was very underwhelming. A 1 episode arc for this too. I agree, like you said, Dylan, just bench him. He does not need to go back to his facility. I did also kind of hate that he was just getting kind of shat upon. I felt like Cyclops was kind of being a little mean, but
well,
it's fair. But I feel like just give him some time. Like, he is still a powerful asset. And
I like that line that he dropped. He's like, we don't want you to go with us. He like switched it up.
But yeah, I feel like they could have done more with the episode. So it's definitely not a higher end of the tier episode, I guess, and how I'm feeling with this. That being said, though, I mean, you made some great points, Kirkland, to seeing how his powers were able to fluctuate into different capacities and be able to do different things, which is great. And I guess if this was to serve as another point in the future, but you said, Travis, we're not really going to be getting Morph again, and I think that is a shame because this episode could be a great foundation and groundwork for setting something up with him down the road. But if we're not getting that down the road, then again, it just really defeats the purpose of this episode and how they did things. So,
Yeah, and I could be wrong. Maybe there's like he appears for something, but I don't think they come back in any sort of massive role Morph. I think this is kind of it. And plus, we're in the last 20 episodes now, so there's, as you can see, there's lots of like part 2s and 3s coming up that probably don't have anything to do with Morph, but. Yeah, let's go down. What specifically we want to talk about? Wolverine got to laugh again. That's good.
Gave him a hug too. That was
him a
like
hug?
very uncharacteristic Wolverine.
Yeah.
He's been sharing some more emotions than he's used to. I like that. So Master Mold is in here. Master Mold's doing some fun stuff, and because I feel like to this point, like, has Master Mold only appeared once before, maybe twice before, or like maybe it's a two-parter. But I feel like
either two-parter, maybe like off in the distance. It's like Master Mold's watching this go down. Yeah.
It seems like as of now, like Master Mold is, because I thought Master Mold was just destroyed, and considering he's like a robot, it's like, okay, well, he's just gone completely, and that's fine. You don't need to explain more than that. Whereas like Mr. Sinister's always gonna like revive somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Master Mold's hit that status now of like a Mr. Sinister or an Apocalypse, or he's just kind of hanging out in the background. He's always going to exist, and he's just going to be the leading, like the big bad behind everything for an arc here or there. He's not necessarily as interesting as any of those, but I still like Master Mold for the cheesiness. I'm also like, I love that card in Marvel Snap, so I'm a little partial to him in that way. But I just find it funny that Master Mold's always sitting in the big throne, and they just like never really animate the character. Like his mouth will move a little bit. In this episode, he does get to go into his spider mode, which I really like, the Master Mold little spider attachment that he had going on there. But yeah, I like that this is another one of those kind of recurring villains, and I'm curious if this is one that would appear in this revival of the series, because it seems like kind of in the background, but he's appeared enough now that he's becoming somewhat relevant.
He also like fits that category of villains that makes sense to just keep coming back. Like if he can just be getting repaired, and the Sentinels are just always repairing him and bringing him back. Like I'm not like, oh, this guy again. Like how the fuck is he back? Like it does make sense, and I like how he has this vendetta. Like he has his mission, and he's gonna try his hardest to stop them.
Well, I know there's one episode with the Sentinels next season, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Master Mold is around. I think I like him more in the sense of when he comes back for one-offs. In this bulk of episodes, he's around quite a few bit. I guess I'm not always too in tune with the robot villain where he doesn't have too many emotions, but I think he still works. He has a cool look, right? He's very cool in sci-fi. He's like a toy I wish I had when I was that age. So I think you guys are right that you can kind of... I feel like he's kind of... I guess I like him being plugged in more than Apocalypse, because we talked about like in season 1 or 2 that Apocalypse was even plugged in way too many times. Like, who is this? It's like, oh, Apocalypse is behind it all. I'd rather it be Master Mold, because he feels like he has a bit more of these smaller issues going on. Not that Master Mold is small, but yeah, I think he works for the most part. And it, again, just it's classic writing. Like, of course, what would the first mission that Morph gets sent on? Oh, the Sentinels are back. The ones that blew him to shreds, and like now he has all this like this was the time for him to sit at home and like send someone else. I know that was some of the point, but it was just funny. Of course, out of all the issues, well, they're back, and Morph, good luck. So it worked out in a funny way. So
yeah, I like that idea that he has to face his fears, but it makes you wonder too, like if he gets a little bit of the power of the people he's morphing into, like why wouldn't he just like turn himself into a Colossus in that moment? He would have been A-okay, and then he wouldn't have to deal with any of this. But I don't know, it seems like he's like sometimes he's great at using his powers, like you said, Kirkland, in this episode he's really popping off, really comboing them together, but then other times he just kind of forgets that he's capable of, I guess.
Master Mold, I'm always pleasantly surprised to see him, because he's definitely someone that I feel like I always forget compared to our other villains that they've established prominently. But when he appears, which I'm excited to talk about him again in the same episode, but he was very freaky, I felt, this time around, because especially his agenda was more sinister too, right? With what he was trying to do, and he even had like the way he was moving his head around and morphs. Like just that was like it reminded me of The Thing almost, with like the legs that came out of the head kind of a thing. So that was a cool different twist, because we haven't really seen him maneuver around like that. He's always had his
Yeah.
big body, I think.
With that voice, you should be more for Halloween. Easy costume, you know. You don't got to do much. Just you.
I'm fine.
Yeah,
You
you
gotta
just
work on the
talk
laugh.
like that.
He's got a wild laugh.
It was so odd when he greeted Wolverine, and it was like, I get it, because like I said, this connection. But Wolverine's like, he's like, look like you've seen a ghost. Actually, you look like this. And he just turns into Logan looking at him. And it's just like, man, no wonder why Scott hates this guy. In my opinion, he's just like, why is he doing this? But there's also this weird animation that it was right when the mission was starting. And they're looking at a screen, and the screen is like scrolling it past, like they're trying to find Sentinels or something. And it's just them using the same animation of like Logan and Morph keep looking at each other in back of the screen, and they'll like say a dialogue. And it went on for 30 seconds. It was very long, and I wish it didn't go on as long as that. But you know, good to have them back together. Wolverine for some reason has like a soft spot in his heart for Morph, and it was shown again here because he was willing to accept him back, and it makes sense. Wolverine's had a dark past too, so it makes sense he would be fine with it. But yeah, and even then, I maybe would have liked Morph to interact a bit more with the team as well, even if he was just there for one episode. Because once they go on the adventure, it's a lot of fighting, and
Yes.
I wish there was a bit more dynamic. Because again, he like had Jean and Scott; they were tied up, held captive. You know,
He's
there's
been through a lot.
yeah, and he put them through a lot. Remember the night where he just decided to destroy the mansion and like poses each one of them? Like it is a big break of trust, but we didn't get too much of that. So
Another question on Morph's powers, and maybe we've talked about this in a previous episode, but I can't remember. Like, how can like what are his capabilities? He's changed into Omega Red, Sasquatch. Like, does that mean that he is engaged with them? He's seen them. Like, if he just sees some info of them on a terminal, is that enough to be like, oh, okay, I can transform into that character? Because Sasquatch makes sense to me. I could understand what, you know, I think it's Alpha Flight, right? Like that there was some connection there where he bumped into Sasquatch. He met that character. Omega Red, though, seems like, how do you even know who this guy is? And then the big one for me was Longshot, because Longshot, like, what, comes from like a different dimension. And it's like, how do you know who Longshot is? And like, why would you switch in like, that seems like I need to see the background episode, the backstory episode of where Morph engaged or even just knows of the existence of Longshot.
maybe it's kind of like when you start a new job and you got to do a work orientation at a computer and read a bunch of modules. And it's like, oh, I read through them all. Maybe they got him to do one of those. He's like, these are our new foes.
One of the
These are,
computers at that mansion must have just like a breakdown of like, hey, here's what this guy is,
Yeah.
here's his powers.
before you
Can't
go out there.
Xavier just like connect to his mind and upload all like here's a whole new roster?
Just 2 years worth of memories just uploaded in your mind.
Breaks his psyche again. He just
And then
Yeah.
knowing Professor X, and he's not always stable. He probably drops some accidental ones in there too. of
Yeah,
him and
here's a
Lilandra
Landra.
and
Why do you?
stuff.
Why do you need me to change your Landra? Oh, don't worry about it more. Just
Save
we'll
that one
talk
for a
about-
rainy day.
yeah, we'll talk about that another time. You owe us, Morph. You almost destroyed us. Yeah, I don't have too much more on this episode.
Yeah.
There was
We can talk about
wasn't too much.
Trask too, right? What Trask was doing, because Trask was like
And-
being used by Master Mold, wasn't he?
Gyrick or whatever that
Was
guy's
that
name
this
is.
one, or was? Am I confusing
I
that
thought
with
it
the
was-
other
I thought
Master
it was
Mold
this
one?
one.
Okay, then I confused with the other one.
I didn't even
so-
write it in my notes, so I think that just goes to show how much I thought about that.
Yeah,
It's
they're
an underwhelming
Because
episode.
well, it's because Master Mold like sends the Sentinels to the mansion, and then they find the other location. The other location is to go get Trask and
Right.
Gyrick, right? That's his name, or Guy.
I think it's
Oh,
Gyrick.
God,
Yeah.
can't
remember.
Oh, Gyrick, man.
that shack.
What a legend.
I like it too. How they're just like pissed off at each other in the shack. Like this is all gone to shit.
Yeah.
And then the fucking Sentinels just show up and take them. It's like, oh man, it is not going well
Those
for
two,
Trask.
there was so much just tension between those two. They really hated
Yeah.
each other.
They deserve it though, right? They're terrible people.
Oh,
They
yeah,
should- they-
absolutely.
All the worst of them. So
Do you? So none of us are really, big fan. Well, maybe other than Kirkland, who's a Morph hater, is happy he's not joining the team officially. But like the justification of Morph not joining the team because he doesn't feel like he's ready yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like this episode, like that's where you'd be like, okay, I'm ready now. Like I just proved my worth, popped off, worked with the team. Got a little
they should have
taste
lost
of
the
that.
mission. They should have lost, and Master Mold still be out there doing like he is kind of because we get that episodes. But I mean, like
Yeah.
it should have been that they, no one maybe Morph saves somebody, but they don't get the bad guys. They don't save the day completely, and then like, oh, I'm not ready for this. But yeah, they did complete the mission. But I guess it's just that he's just really worried about coming up to some other Sentinels again. But yeah, I think they could have done. That's where a 2-part would have been good because you could have had a cliffhanger, and then the X-Men do save the day in the next part. But maybe it's not because of Morph, and Morph realizes that okay, I want to be here, but I can't contribute like the rest of you yet. After a year and a half of therapy, he's still Mr. Sinister did a number on them.
Yes.
You know, Mr. Sinister really messed with them. So I wish there was a little more stakes to that. I'm not ready for this, but
Yeah, I didn't like it because obviously this has like been my favorite Morph appearance. I was like, holy crap, he's actually popping off, and then we just lose him minutes later. And it also just feels like if he isn't ready, the X Mansion's probably the best place to get ready. Like they have a danger room, like he can face his fears, go against the Sentinels, and in a controlled environment, and also just like speak to other people that are going through the same thing. Like, isn't what the whole X Mansion's for is for mutants that like are struggling with this to like just find them, get some inner strength. And I just it didn't make sense at all. It just seemed like we interacted with him and now he's just gone, and that was the little side quest that and like that's why it feels like a filler episode so much, is because by the end of it, other than like the Master Morph stuff, which I don't think is a real major big deal like going forward, it's just it's just a moment to interact with Morph again, which just very side questy.
I'm now picturing that scene from, I forget what season it was, where I think it's Beast. He's in the training room just swinging around doing some practice. And then I forget what the situation was.
Wasn't it Morph?
I thought it was Morph. He's like fucking with it. Yeah.
He should return the favor.
Morphed on there, and someone turned the difficulty up when he's practicing against the Sentinels.
I was in this situation before, and then Morph's just in there, thousands of Sentinels fighting off. Turn it
Kiss
off!
my blue ass, Morph.
Yeah. I'll give you therapy about this after. But
Beast, like super nice, gentle guy, but he just fucking hates Morph now.
Yeah, even then, there would be some good episodes if they did that route where everyone other than Wolverine just didn't like him or didn't want to associate with Morph, right? And then they learned like, oh, we're being what we hate, you know, like it'd be a good way. But they're usually forgiving, right? People do bad things, and right away they're like, come back in here, except for Morph. But I get it. That was another issue. Anything
That's
else?
all for me on this one.
That's it.
I'm
I'll
going
give
big
like a
middle.
thumb.
I'm
Oh,
going
middle
big
thumb?
middle on this one.
I'll go
give it
single
one
thumb. Single thumb for making me like Morph a little bit more.
I'm gonna go with single thumb because talking with you guys made me laugh more about it.
There you go. We got you to the thumb. Secrets not long buried. When Cyclops flies solo to a tiny western desert community to see an old friend, his plane is blasted out of the sky. Injured and unable to use his powers, he struggles into town, only to discover his friend is missing, and the town is caught in the grips of a militarant, mutant-only, anti-human hate group. That was a lot of words for me. That was really weird putting together. The Children of the Shadow. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm laughing because I do not think this is a bad episode. This is just an episode that's not for me. I did not enjoy it. Like, this is an episode and I like Scott Summers. I like Cyclops. We've talked about before, especially early seasons. Like, oh, I wish we got more of him because he's supposed to be the leader, right? This is not the more of him I want. I don't like the villains. I don't Tanaka and him. The only thing I really enjoy in this episode is just Cyclops fucking hates Tanaka anytime he runs. Tanaka, like it gave me the vibes that Cyclops was racist. In my opinion, like he was really unnecessarily aggressive towards Tanaka in a way that made me uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy this. I don't even think it's bad. It just was not an episode for me, not a story for me. There's nothing. This is one I probably would skip when I'm like, or I would like put it on to like do, other work, podcast editing, cook, something like that. But there wasn't anything even Scott Summers here I was like really liking. So yeah, not a good one for me. The what was this episode called again? Secrets Not Long Buried.
Yeah, how could you forget? It just rolls off the tongue. This was just an incredibly weird episode. Like the cast of characters introduced, you're like fucking Watchdog. I'm like, who's
Dude, Watchdog,
Watchdog, man.
Oh
we
my
need him and
God.
Bonebreaker on the fucking MCU X-Men roster. God damn.
But I'd be just so curious to read through a comic where Cyclops goes to Skullmass and just see like some of the other iterations of this, because this is just a bunch of weird characters, weird storyline. Cyclops acting just completely deranged. Like it is. It is a weird episode. So I think I liked it as like a curiosity, but it definitely like I don't want to hang out with Cyclops after this.
No.
He just doesn't seem like someone who would be fun to hang out with.
This would have fit in the era where Jean was gone, and I would have cut him some slack because remember they made him more of a dick. I was like, okay, I would get it then. He's like an angry Cyclops, but it's like everything's going relatively well. Jean's back, and I was just looking too. I think Watchdog might only be made for this show.
Really?
Yeah, his first appearance and only appearance.
That's crazy.
Yeah, February 17, 1969, man, or 1996, not 1969, man. Fuck, if I can direct an MCU X-Men thing, I'm bringing Watchdog in at some point, man. That's what I want. I need to find you to do that. But yeah, it looks like
Who's
and
casted as him?
Oh, I wish Michael Clark Duncan was still alive, man, because that's the go-to. Who's cast now?
man.
Vin Diesel's taken. He would have been
Ben
a good
Grimm
one.
from Fantastic Four, whoever that actor is from the first live action.
Oh,
Michael
wow.
Chiklis.
Yeah, that guy. He's got the facial structure.
He might not be alive by time. I'll have to think about that. Powers, telepathy, electrical distribution, and power suppression. So there you go. That's his powers.
It's a good
There it
show.
is. Yeah, I didn't like this episode. I I found it interesting seeing some different mutants. It's always fun to see some new ones. Watchdog being one of them. Solar, I thought his aesthetic was pretty cool. Very much fit like this show of just like the bright colors. Thought that was cool. Got to see Toad here.
Yeah,
That was a highlight. Yeah.
I don't know if I like him more in the live action or in this, and that goes to show just how bad I think it was. He just was wearing this like weird medieval garb, and his
He
powers
looked like
just
that
weren't really
majority.
toady.
They've changed him a bit more now, but majority of this era, 60s to 90s, like that's what Toad looked like, was this type of guy. Yeah.
I was picturing just very toad like sitting like a toad, using his tongue. Just he's got like green slime.
He's just a weird looking dude here.
weird looking dude, and I think it's like one of those things that ever since especially since we did the X-Men retro, just seeing Toad in that movie, it's like I wonder what the comic book version of Toad is like, and I was let down. So yeah, just across the board, I really wasn't a big fan of this one. I don't think it did Scott like a lot of justice for like making me want to like how I felt after seeing Morph, in the last episode. I'm like, man, I like this guy more. Scott Summers has had a lot more screen time, so I haven't really been like super low on him up until this point, but I don't know. It's not one I would really revisit, I think, looking back on the episodes.
Taylor, by the way, I would go The Rock for Watchdog now. He's not in the MCU, so get the, you don't got to animate him much. I would have went like Idris Elba because I would love Idris Elba's voice in there, but he's already Hemdell, so I'll go The Rock. I was just trying to I want a big dude for Watchdog,
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah, no, that's a good pick.
you.
This episode was interesting. I feel like I'm trying to remember if Prescott was his name, right?
Yep.
I don't remember him being in other episodes. I feel like a lot of this stuff was just created like a first timer, right? Because we haven't really gotten much of like Cyclops' backstory aside from like his dad was a space pirate and all that jazz. So this is kind of really deep diving into, I guess, where he grew up and just how he kind of got like helped.
The cowboy era.
Yeah, cowboy.
Yeah,
era.
Cowboy Scott. Yeah, I forgot about Cowboy Scott. Remember when Gene died and his first instinct was to put on the cowboy garb and go flirt with people at the bar? They were flirting with him, but still, he's a bad boy in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just not. It's not overly like you said, Kirkland's not an episode I'm going to be going back to. There's certainly other ones that I would prefer to, and it just feels like it's another one and done. Unless there's going to be some payoff, unless we're going to have to go back and have the assistance of these mutants or Prescott or something in the future, which could happen. But I just feel like it's just these one-off stories that aren't adding a lot of weight to our characters.
Just a little fill in there. Oh God! Oh, I was gonna bring up something that you said there, but I can't think about it now, Taylor. But yeah, and even stuff like I get that this town's repressed, and maybe it's because Scott doesn't handle it the same way. Just the fact that they're fighting and Tanaka just in the middle, like I should have done this before, and just gives him his powers back. I should have healed you, and Scott's just kind of back, and that's the way we go. Like I guess Scott didn't approach Tanaka the best to give him his powers. He's always, very aggressive.
His one line too when he's like having that conversation in his house, and he's like so when Solaire showed up, like nobody opposed him. It was like just Prescott, and he just like he keeps amping Tanaka up like he's another X-Men. It's like together we can take him out, and this guy's just like a doctor. And how does Scott respond? He's like, how can you call yourself a doctor for like not wanting to like overthrow these fucking mutants? It's just like, oh my gosh, man, like come on, like I get it, you don't have powers right now, but he was, I don't know, a little extreme for my liking there. I didn't like the way he was approaching the situation.
It's just almost like there was I guess it is a town, but it felt like there was almost more on the line, like almost not world, but like a bigger mutant at play. Like this could really go bad. And obviously, you don't want people to be repressed, but it's just Scott was at a level 10 for this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he needed to be.
I like how they met though, when like Scott's figuring out like his eyes, powers, all that kind of stuff, and then like he sees the car and the car's coming, and he's freaking out and waving, and I think like the guy like Tanaka, that's his name.
Tanaka,
right?
yeah.
I think Scott's like, didn't you see me? And he's just like, sorry, Mister. Like, it's just-
That's why Scott can't handle that he's not the leader somewhere. Like everyone else, he's like goes to him to reporting and hears like no one cares about him. Even though I love when like Scott's like, well, I'm immune too, and Sully just kind of shits on like, you don't look like no mutant. Like, where's your powers?
yeah, where's your power?
Yeah, like he tries his best. Like everybody just takes their turn. Maybe like, Scott just there's not a good place for Scott. You know, I don't like. Maybe that's it. I just don't like Cowboy Scott. That's
Maybe we can just headcanon that he got hit on the head when he crashed the ship, and that's why.
he's
was acting
concussed.
so
He's
fucked
got a
up.
concussion. People,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
anger happens all the time. You know.
His behavior there, Travis, though, like that's what would fit so well into what you pitched earlier as like if this was in that Gene missing
Phoenix
era.
era,
Yeah,
yeah.
because like if he was just down and out, he's missing Gene, like he's trying to find, he's almost like Morph, like he just can't handle it anymore. So then he goes on this little adventure. I feel like I would have been able to palate this a lot more, but like I don't know. I feel like Scott's pretty sane, like where he is
Yeah.
with the rest of the X-Men. But then he just comes to this town and he's a bit of a basket case.
And just
Well, yeah.
like call
Go
the
ahead.
team. Like some situations, it's just like you don't got to do this alone. Like lots of these mutants are. I get it, you versus all these mutants. That could be a lot. So it's good the town flips, but it's just like I feel like lots of these mutants are pretty low tiers. Like you call in the big guns like Storm and Jean.
He's
Like
trying to recruit Tanaka when he could just fucking call the X-Men.
yeah, like I feel like you bring in the A team here, you can save this town pretty quickly. Like Solar's powers sometimes are just yours. He's just shooting like lasers from his eyes. Like, come on, like get Xavier in here or something. But
He had some bad memories too, right? Because he obviously
does.
was getting beaten up and all that kind of jazz. Which that's something. Maybe that's kind of for fuddling his thinking
True.
process throughout all of this. But the main thing with that, because I wrote this down when he's playing the game with the other kids, and I think either the kid said it like he did. I think the kid said he did it again when he lasers it, which means he already lasered a ball, and now they decide like to beat him up. So he did it once, like, oh, you're fine, we'll keep playing. Oh, he did it again, you mutant freak, and they start kicking the crap out of him, which I just thought was weird and how that was linear.
thank God they didn't like. He didn't like back in the day laser them all. You know, like imagine that.
Oh, he could have. He could have nuked
Villain
one of those
origin
kids.
story. It very much could have gone that route, right? If he was bullied and he's like, well, I've had enough of your shit.
And he wasn't wearing glasses either, right? So that's like your adolescence kind of thing where your powers were starting to kick in. So
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe his powers were a little bit weaker at that point, so he wouldn't have killed someone, just knocked them back.
just
or
melt the
something.
hand or something.
Yeah,
Just a stub.
the old hand.
Damn, Scott, you really are a freak.
The new character, or at least we hadn't seen before, that I really dug in this episode was the dude with like the rocky back, and he would
Oh.
throw like little rock golems
That's
at other
creepy,
people, and they
man.
would like just jump around on someone's head to just fuck with them. Like I need to know who that character is. I don't know if they ever said his name, but I loved that dude. I loved his look. I loved his powers. I love that he could just spawn little rock babies to go attack people. One of my favorite mutants in the show. Like one of my favorite powers and looks, I gotta say. Really dug him.
Nightmare fuel that character. When the first time he like bent down, and then from his back the spikes, like the rocks turned to another person. My goodness, like I know Rogue's powers do suck, but I don't want to be Rock Guy who has people coming out from my body as well. It's a creepy
Oh yeah.
power.
I mean, it would
Weird.
it would be brutal for sure to have that one. You can't hide in regular society with that one. You'll get
His name is
Picked on.
Tusk.
nice.
Tina, can you
look
find
this
out
guy
what was the name of the tree lady? Because that was another weird one for me. Of like, again in the Jean era, it's like she was almost kind of like flirting with Scott. Times she gave Scott some looks, but yeah, her power was just to grow. She was just poison ivy. She just grew trees, and she was just like. And I feel like for some reason they kept animating her armpits a lot. I never understood. Lots of shots of her like lifting up and like zooming on that. But
Interesting.
yeah, she was a lot of like Ari Aster type of mutants. I feel if you were to make an X-Men, this is what his mutants would be doing.
Her
So-
name is Lady Gardner.
Oh,
fuck
no.
off.
Nice.
You couldn't even get
I
like these
actually
people.
love that.
Like, come on, Lady
She
Gardner.
only appears in this episode And Tusk has a first appearance. It says, so he must come back at some point.
Fudge. There you go. Can't wait. Secret Wars, baby.
Looking at
But,
Tusk powers, just mini clone production. Tusk can grow smaller versions of himself that sprout from his back and operate independently while maintaining a psychic link with the main body.
Oh my god.
His clones also possess enhanced strength and durability as well as enhanced agility, which that part's generic. But I love that there's a psychic link between them too. Like this guy could just make an army. What is the limit of that? He could be the next Apocalypse. He could be the most powerful villain if he wanted to in this whole planet.
But like, is the main body eventually have nothing because it's little pieces of himself? So is he just like a stub? If he
I don't
makes,
know.
like,
I feel like
right?
he can just keep growing back. So
Maybe,
he seems
yeah.
very like I don't know. Can he absorb them back into his body? So many
Right.
questions.
Do they rebel and don't want to go back into his body? They're like, no, I have my own life now. I have a wife and kids.
Yeah.
I don't
They're the
wanna-
exact same as him. Exact same dialogue. Is that generator ready yet?
I want that episode of Tusk trying to like get all his people back, and they're not wanting to. We don't want to be living in your body, you sicko. And like in this episode, it's a kid thing at work, but when Lady Gardner, like Solar was like shooting his laser eyes, and how she decided like block was bring up like a bunch of bushes, like it worked because I like blocked it, but I feel like that would only block it for so little because like it's like fire and heat. Like I feel like you're getting like a
Yeah.
a
It seems like
3-second buffer, and then it's going
gonna get
right
countered
through
pretty quick.
Yeah, like, I did not think but that was the use in this episode. How do we counter a mutant that like he's shooting practically fire lasers, like greenery? Like no, like
You got
I
what
don't
you got,
think so.
you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
So at the end of the episode, of course, Cyclops gets reunited with Prescott, and they're hanging out, and they walk off into the sunset. And I just thought this was so bizarre, where they're like, "Oh, let's catch up on old times. Do you still like ice cream?" That was the first question after all this trauma, after all these years. Like it's been at least 10 years or more, and that's the first question. Do you still like ice cream? I'm just like bewildered by that. Was where you go first.
That's one of those. That's one of those lines where it's just like, yeah, this is like a Saturday morning cartoon for kids. Like the kids are like, oh, I like ice cream. I can relate with him.
Yeah.
That's my only takeaway from that. Because that is just that's.
I'm gonna
puzzling.
try and remember that when I see you guys in person next. And I'm like, hey,
I was gonna do
Travis,
that
do you
too.
still like
Yeah.
ice cream?
Yeah, he's like ice cream, John. Yeah, I hope that's the first thing he said to Jean when she got back to normal, like at the
Yeah.
cabin. You still like ice cream?
I need to
Oh,
know.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
said
did that
morph,
change?
so they said the morph too.
Yeah, and he said no, and Scott's like,
Yeah, that's
fuck
why.
outta
Yeah,
here.
they're like, I don't know if we want this guy on the team. You're staying at the mansion. We all like ice cream.
Every Sunday, Scott's like homemaking ice cream for the team, and he's like, "No, I don't like ice cream." He's just sitting there,
Made
like,
more of a special one.
Yeah, I worked so hard. I just got to tell him, no, Scott will eat it. No, that's not the point. I made it for him. He's just, oh yeah, don't know why. I'd question that friend, but you know, Scott gets a lot of those moments. I feel like this is the third time where it's him and a character walking off the sunset, like his dad. This time with his brother. Like, let's update a little bit. Like, remember his dad? There was that weird thing of like, let's talk for a little bit. No, I gotta go. Well, what about for 5 minutes? Okay, I'll stay for 5 minutes. Like, it's like the.
So you still like ice cream?
Yeah.
So
Anything else on this episode?
No.
Thumb down for me. I won't give the 2 because that's harsh. I don't think it's like a bad episode. I think someone could enjoy it, but just a weird one, not enjoy it. So,
Single thumb down.
I'm gonna go middle.
oh, the middle. What gets in the middle? I feel like I didn't hear a lot of pros from you. Give me one thing you really like in this episode.
I like seeing like Solaris like operation underground, so, like this goop and like how they were like mining the crystals. all
It's
that kind of
completely
stuff.
gold, and then when they show the images, there's no gold anywhere. It's like the rocks are shining. It's like, why do you make them say gold? But okay, fair enough. You like the layer.
I'm gonna go thumbs up on this one. Like on
Oh.
paper, not good episode, not like good character development, but it's just such a weird freak show episode, and I like it. And I feel like this will be memorable for me. And I love seeing some weird freaks in this world. And to get Tusk, to see Toad, I enjoyed Toad for what he's doing in there. Yeah, there's enough just oddities in here that I think it's more memorable than just like a boring bad episode for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Next, we got pretty self-explanatory. Episode 8, Nightcrawler. Gambit, Rogue, and Wolverine take a ski trip to Germany. While Gambit and Rogue seem to be largely enjoying each other's company at the time, let me read it again. Enjoying each other's company and time together. There we go. Wolverine is restless and longs for some action. When he hears
No innuendo to be found here.
I just need some action. Like, don't go looking for a fight or sex. When he hears reports of a demon hiding in the local monastery, his investigation reveals it's not a demon, but a mutant, Nightcrawler, whose devilish appearance is in stark contrast with his peaceful and deeply philosophical nature. Later, the townsfolk attack and burn the monastery. The X-Men convince the townfolk not to fear what they do not understand. Wolverine too learns something about the nature of faith.
Very biblical episode.
Yeah, Kirk, you go. What are you?
I'll take it away.
Yeah.
I honestly I love this episode. I thought it was really really awesome, like introduction to Nightcrawler. I'm very new to like this version of Nightcrawler. I feel like I've only seen him in the live action adaptation, and then like I knew of like the classic style for it, but to actually see it here, I love like just the Van Helsing like opening effect where it's like just the rain, the town folk ready to like for me like they just nailed like the vibe for what this character kind of goes. I don't know. I was going to say he embodies, but I don't really know too much about him. So I'm just kind of making an assumption there for what I've seen in this movie.
It's pretty on
from
par.
this episode.
Yeah, live action forgets a lot of the religious stuff, but he's a pretty religious character. He's about to
And
be
I just-
Spider-Man coming up soon.
He's about to be Spider-Man?
Yeah, he's filming for Peter Parker in New York. Apparently, you can look it up.
Shit.
Nightcrawler has a Spider-Man suit with the tail and everything.
Wow,
but-
that's awesome.
yeah, but yeah, he's a
I-
very religious character.
I really, really just love like kind of what he is too. Like he's probably one of the creepier looking mutants, just like visually, because he does look like kind of that demon, stereotypical demon looking guy. But he just, it's. I mean, I feel like that's a big part of just the mutants in general is that they. Oh my god, that
fucking
looks so
sick.
sick.
Bit of like a Miles Morales sort of style.
Yeah,
Little ears
with the
too.
tail.
Yeah, it's cool.
Man, that's so sweet.
I don't know if the story's good, but it's fun.
Aesthetically looks great, but I mean just the mutants in general kind of represent that thing where there's more than meets the surface, or is that how you say it? Kind
More
of
than
sounded
meets
weird
the
coming
eye.
out. More than meets the eye. There you go. Just I don't know. He can be pretty freaky like when you first look at him, but he is very gentle and like very kind-hearted when you get to know him. And I thought it was just a really good episode. I don't know. I was just totally in it. I love like the ski portion of this episode too. Earlier on, I love seeing those like classic '90s like ski suits that they're all wearing. And Gambit is not good on the hill. That was pretty hilarious. And I don't know. I thought it was a fun episode like throughout. So yeah, I had a really good time with it.
I wrote a quote down from that because that just made me crack up. When Wolverine's like, man doesn't break a sweat against Apocalypse or Magneto, so what nails him? A pine tree. That's so good.
Gotta watch
Those
out for Lady
lines.
Gardner. She could probably take him out too.
Oh yeah, Gambit's worst enemy, Lady Gardner.
Nothing else
Should I
to
take
say.
it?
Right, next
Yeah, go
episode.
ahead,
I'll take it.
Yeah,
I really, really like this episode. I was just super jazzed on just this staying in this abbey and just this like terrifying like Phantom of the Opera kind of vibe, and yeah, Nightcrawler being here, and obviously going in, I know Nightcrawler is a good guy trying to do good things. I didn't know the backstory because the one monk was like, yeah, he's my brother and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really, really a cool dynamic. And I can imagine like new people going in are like, you know, you're a kid, like, oh, kill the fucking Nightcrawler. I'm paraphrasing, but
kid.
you might
Kids are
think
thinking that.
you might think he's the bad guy in this because everyone else.
None of my
is
daughters
making
were
him
yelling,
the
"Kill
bad
the
guy.
fucking Nightcrawler" when we were watching.
Well, I'm paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing.
You raised him right.
I would have some questions if they were watching this and they joined. Then people like, get him, murder him. Like, what? We gotta stop watching these.
Maybe kids in Germany are different. I don't know.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
But I felt like it was just. I would have liked a little bit more sustenance from this one priest and what he was doing. I guess he was just really just blinded by his faith, and he's just like, oh, you know, by the power of God, like Nightcrawler's actually good. I felt like that was just too cheesy. Maybe that's a poor way to put it. It was too easy of a transition for him, because I feel like there should have been something a little bit more sinister involved with why he really doesn't like this mutant. But I guess it was very simple. It was just his faith, and as much as his faith made him think this was the devil, his faith restored hope that this was not the devil and he was a good guy. And well, I guess because he saw the whole Abbey burned down. He's like, "What have I done?" Kind of a moment, but
A lot of characters like that. Wolverine flips pretty easily too.
yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, that was I always felt like Wolverine might have been like a little bit on that side, but it really cemented
Really?
it, just a tiny bit. But it kind of cemented it at the end when he's in the church and having his on his knees moment.
Praying. I'll just say that maybe. But
That's
that's,
it.
an interesting assertion. You've always thought that there's a little bit like Wolverine was a man of God.
Not that I had like any kind of concrete evidence.
I know, but
especially
what
up
was it
until
about
this.
Wolverine? About him that it was like he could be religious.
I felt like he always sprouted that kind of personality that would put his something in like a higher power. And I think when you maybe at that point, like I can see where you live. He doesn't live forever, but he lives for a very long time, and that can really put a damper on trying to believe in some form of deity. But I don't know what it is, but maybe it's more so his Hugh Jackman live action version than this. If I didn't watch the Hugh Jackman version, I only watched this, I would not get any kind of feeling that he is religious. But the Hugh Jackman one,
Really?
I don't know what it is, but there's different levels that he's showcased in his live action films, and maybe there's a part of me that thinks, again, I don't have anything to credit. It's just something that just kind of manifests in the back
it's
of my
fine.
mind.
I just had to ask.
But-
'Cause I've never gone that vibe. Like especially
Yeah, me
got to
neither.
Hugh Jackman, where like in Logan, he's a pretty bitter guy. Like doesn't feel like he's found God at all or anything. He's
Well,
pretty
he was
pessimistic.
like let's kill Nightcrawler and all that kind of stuff too, right? Wasn't he? I thought he was talking
When?
about, he was
Oh, in this?
no,
one?
in this, not
Oh,
not
yeah,
in X
okay.
two.
Hugh Jackman. Kill the Nightcrawler.
Kill the fucking Nightcrawler.
The second he saw Alan Cummings on set with the, with the makeup, kill him! He's a demon. No, Hugh, that's a character. That's Nightcrawler. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's one of the best. Everyone go watch X2. Best introduction because Wolverine doesn't meet Nightcrawler. He meets him on the plane, and Wolverine's like, "Who's this guy?" And he's like, "My name's Kurt Wagner." But in the circus, they call me Nightcrawler, and Hugh Jackman just comes like, save it. And then he moves on. It's just like, fuck, man. Hugh Jackman's so good at that stuff.
The incredible Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
I'll go because I'm the same echo as these guys. I don't know about what they feel about the whole thing, but as far as these five, this is my favorite. I'm a big fan of the Nightcrawler character. I don't know if he's in my top 5, but maybe top 10. Because it's kind of like this, like the Captain America thing, not the Superman thing. It's like I'm not a religious person. I wouldn't believe in a lot of the beliefs that Kurt is talking about, and the kind of everything happens for a reason, that sort of deal. But the character always poses in such a good way, especially like all mutants are suppressed and people are always after him, but you got this guy who's literally fighting for his life all the time because, like he says, he was born this way right away. For his whole life, people have been after him, and the fact, like, he should be very bitter. He, like, from day one, he's never going to grow up. His mother abandoned him, which of course we'll talk about. He's in the circus where people chastise him, people are trying to kill him. His own monastery, and it's very similar to comics, but he's always a character that's always holding people to high regard and that they could be better and do better. And I think this show does a good job of having him have that aura. Of course, love the powers, love the look. I loved everything with the ski setup. I love Rogue and Gambit trying to have like this romantic trip, and Wolverine just crashed it. So I like that. Again, they're still in this, we don't know what they're on again, off again situation, but clearly they're like on a date here. So, and not that I definitely at any point get the side that Wolverine would be religious. I really, really enjoy the scene that Kurt and Wolverine have when they're talking about religion and about like, well, why would God make me like this and make you like that? And it's like that thing like, well, how do you counter that? But Kurt takes a different route of, well, there has to be a reason and we can help other people and stuff. So yeah, overall, definitely, I think I'd have to look at the whole season. Probably definitely my favorite so far this season. And yeah, because you got Juggernaut Returns, Sanctuary, if you remember. So probably this one, it's high up there for the show overall. So yeah, definitely. I think he's been a couple art. I really hope Nightcrawler's a bit more in 97. I'd love him to somehow become like a full team member, but maybe one day when we review X-Men Evolution, he's there. But even X-Men Evolution, they don't take the religious side. He's like a young, like, oh, I'm a Nightcrawler, I'm really cool, and I'm a freak. Like, I like this. He sets this religion stuff, makes him feel different than other characters. So yeah, big fan of this episode.
Unfortunately, I'm kind of like the opposite of you guys. I think there's similar to Kirkland. Like I don't really know any meaningful like backstory on this character. So this really was the crash course for me to learn about his situation, because I've just seen him in like the live action stuff or like Ultimate Alliance, just random things where he's always popping up and he's cool for his powers and his look and all that. But I don't really know much about the backstory of the character. So I don't know. I guess, the part of it was like I was really looking forward to this because it's been a few weeks since we recorded our last episode, and whenever we're done, I always like look at the episodes that are coming up just to see what I'm gonna get used to, we're gonna get introduced to, and seeing Nightcrawler episode, I was like, oh, I'm really excited to see that character finally, get a little backstory on him. And it just wasn't really that interesting to me. Counter arguments or criticisms to the things that you guys like about the character, it just didn't really work for me. It didn't really move the needle. So unfortunately, a bit of a letdown for me. I'm glad that we finally got Nightcrawler in here, and he's a player in the scene. We see him in another episode coming up, even though it's very just briefly. I don't even know if he has a line of dialogue. So I'm glad that he's kind of introduced now, and I do hope we see more of him in 97. I'd like to see some more going on there. But yeah, I guess just the episode in general, the kind of antagonists, I'll call them, and the general stuff. It just wasn't that exciting of an episode for me, with a couple exceptions. So unfortunately, I'm on the low end for this one. But I'm glad that you guys are into it.
What's the relation between Azazel and Nightcrawler? Is that his brother?
That's his father.
Oh, his father. Okay.
Yeah. Don't screw that one up.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember. I remember he was like Nightcrawler, but I didn't know what the relationship was.
Yeah, so that's where it's like Nightcrawler and Rogue are like brother and sister, but more by adoption. And then as we see,
Right.
Mystique gave him away because right away he was a blue-looking demon, sent him off, and then she went off to become a member of the Brotherhood. Even though, like, even in this era, when she turns back to Mystique, she's still just like rocking like the skull stuff. Like, take the skull stuff off. It's a little like looks evil, But yeah, I think we had talked about that. I didn't think that was real for you guys. I feel like we've talked about the whole Mystique and Nightcrawler thing, and I can't remember if they refer back too much in this series, but if not, it might be here and there. But I wish it'd be something they dive into, because I don't know if we've seen any art of Mystique in 97, so I'm not sure.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I know we got Magneto around, so I don't know what
I'm sure
maybe
she'll
that's
pop in.
yeah,
She's
maybe
popular.
that's not a secret episode, but maybe they're holding back the Brotherhood of Evil because there could be like a new leader. She could be the leader, I guess, right? Even then, so yeah. But yeah, you got that origin, and
I think my favorite section of the episode was just the ski trip element of it, even though it's very short. I just thought it was so goofy and silly that these three going off, do some skiing. I really liked the suits they had, like the kind of very 90s, which now has kind of had that retro aesthetic. But like Rogue's in particular, the blue and white ski suit that she had, and she pretty much rocked that for like most of the episode. I was like, I really like that look. I'd love if she wore that more often. Obviously, she's not going to, but I was really into that. And then yeah, like down to that scene that Taylor broke down. It was just all so goofy and fun, and I don't know. Those are some of my favorite moments in these series. Is when you just get the X-Men hanging out and there's no threat, but they're just having a good time when they're playing basketball, or Gambit's doing his weird shit, or they're going skiing here. That's always fun for me.
you gotta love that when they got there, the priests and stuff were asking Rogue to change, and Rogue, for quote, said, "I don't want to make the natives restless." So she's pretty much just insinuating that she's gonna change so she doesn't make any of these priests like break their word or something.
She's very aware of her sex appeal.
Yes, very confident. And I'm not saying she shouldn't be, but very, very confident. I was like, wow, okay, so she did that. Why do you think? Because I felt like maybe I was wrong, so you guys could tell me. It felt like they were insinuating that Wolverine had to go on the trip with them. Did you guys get that vibe?
I thought, yeah, I took that.
So why? Why? Who made that call? And why
He's
did
the
they
chaperone.
Yeah, he was chaperone.
Charles or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Scott just say you like I just like why do they? I feel like at this point, I know you could say they're Rogue, maybe could be a bit more rookie-ish. I don't know, but I think at this point they can withhold themselves pretty well. That they could go do a ski trip by themselves. I didn't think Wolverine needed to be there. Obviously, it was to get him with Nightcrawler on the episode, but I felt like they are fine.
I got as far as he had to go with them, but I never really looked past that point as to why he had to be there.
I kept thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. I don't like why put that in the episode at all as a part of the story. It's strange.
It's not like it's like a don't make sure the students aren't getting together. It's like, well, clearly that can't happen with Rogue, so it's like that's gone.
Maybe it was just like a friendly thing, like Rogue and Gambit were gonna go, and Wolverine was awkward about it. Like when Gambit's like, "Oh, you want to come along?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go." And Rogue's
He
like,
wants some
I'm looking
action.
for action.
Yeah.
I'm real restless.
Like story purpose, it like makes sense because he like had that finding God kind of moment, like through, pardon me, through religion by the end of the episode. But like to actually be there from the get go. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. We just need we need to fill the bus with a certain amount of X-Men, and he was the one that got called.
Got him in a ski suit too, so yeah, no, all that stuff was fun, and even though, like, to jump to the end of it, it was strange. Again, their relationship's a bit strange now because Gambit says something. They're like on a little date, and he says something, and she walks away. He didn't say anything offensive. She just walked like out of the date to find Logan at church. So again, don't know their status officially, and
it's a bit weird. I did really enjoy that. Yeah, Rogue kind of bumped into Wolverine. He was kind of doing it in secret. That makes sense for him. I like that she didn't disturb him. I like that she didn't comment on it. I like that she didn't bring it up. It's just a little thing that I really enjoyed from Rogue's perspective there.
It's like, let him have something, you know, because I also don't think it would go well. Either
Yeah,
he makes him
exactly.
up
He
or-
would freak out, and he would do all this stuff, and she just knows that it'd be better off if
What the fuck are you doing in here, Logan?
I'm just here looking for action. I'm not doing anything. Leave me alone. But yeah, I thought it was like a little bit of a. I don't mind if he would have considered. Like, I would have liked if he just took the Bible and thought about it. I thought him going to pray, because I thought like he answered Nightcrawler pretty much like, I'm not into this for X, Y, and Z, and then he's praying at the end. Like, I don't think he had that much of a journey to warrant him going, but
Yeah, I see what you mean, but I guess the way I see it is like I feel like Wolverine on his own, when he's just doing his own thing and he's in his own quarters in the X Mansion, very different guy than like the persona he tries to put on, the tough face, the snarls, the one-liners, all that kind of thing. So I feel like just in front of Nightcrawler, he would admit it, even if he did feel the opposite. Whereas when he's finally on his own, he can maybe think about it more deeply. I'm not sure.
I like the one priest guy, the one monk that was like super hesitant to actually house them there. I like just like the other guys' reasoning on why they should have them. It's like, you know, our purpose here is to actually welcome everyone that is in need. Just very just good dude, very righteous. It makes sense that that's the brother of Nightcrawler. That, you know, he has similar ideology there.
Well, he did say everyone's his brother, though. Everyone who's in this monastery is his brother. Because Emily was like, he has another brother. And then the next line is like, everyone here is people I look after. They are family.
Brother Rogue.
Yeah, even another guy that was like the bad Nightcrawler guy. Like, he hated him, you know. That's his brother as well. They're all brothers, yeah.
Okay, good point. I found it funny that during like the avalanche, Rogue's sleeves just got like ripped off. Just her sleeves. I don't know. Maybe she was flexing and just ripped the suit. I did like the look, though. She looked a little bit more badass with it, but
Got the local natives
must've been
going even
chilly.
a bit more. Like, no sleeves.
no sleeves. You got to cover those shoulders.
I haven't seen a woman with no sleeves in 80 years. I was.
I was just gonna say, in that same avalanche, I loved how when they got buried, Logan just like he like slashes the snow with his blades, and it just like makes it go away. It's like, man, what a simple solution. Looked hilarious.
Like, why does you like just use your hands? I feel like your hands might be better with the blades, but of course, in animated world, the blades are.
It's like,
pushing
yeah,
blades.
maybe like it helps dig it, but like the fact that he didn't dig it, he just slashed the snow and it just like disappeared. So badass.
I really like the beginning. I love the visuals of Nightcrawler, how it's like in the rain, the lightning's going off. You kind of just see his eyes first, and you see shadows. I like that they make him look like an actual like horrific figure. He does look like the demon, and he looks scary. So that's why it would make sense off-putting. Now maybe Kurt should stop climbing on the fucking walls outside. That might help people like not go after
Just going
him.
for a stroll.
Yeah, in the rain, like he's picking the most. It's like if you were to go out. I don't know. I guess not Halloween because people think it's a mask. But I just feel like he's going out the worst time to make himself look like a monster. But visually, I like what they do there. So
They're having like a rally to like go fucking pitchfork him anyways. And then he's like, I'm just gonna go investigate what's going on.
yeah, please, I'm your friend. As he stands up against the lightning, beat yellow eyes, looking like the vampire from Midnight Mass. But let's see. Oh, there was one moment I liked that they were fighting like, at the start, and Nightcrawler introduced himself to Wolverine, and he went for a handshake, and Wolverine's like, "Yeah, nice to meet you," and he just fucking tossed him.
Like RKO's him essentially.
Yeah, he took that opportunity, like cheap shot him. So I enjoyed that, and that was my last note on this episode.
Is Logan known for doing those cheap shots? I wouldn't think so. I
Yeah,
feel
remember
like-
there was remember in season 1 when Scott was just talking and Wolverine just walked up and like fucking nailed him in the gut. He's just like because like Wolverine, like he has these powers, he can heal, he has metal on his bones, but he'll still take the cheap way out to get a win. He's like a piece of shit. But
He
yeah,
did that to Scott because of Morph, though, wasn't it? When he left, he made the call to leave Morph behind, so it was within reason.
It's still cheap, but like go face to face, then punch him. Not while Scott's talking to the team, then like gut him. Like he doesn't have metal abs like you do.
Hey,
He's
Scott,
gonna
what's
be
the
out of
capital of
breath.
Thailand? Bangkok.
Yeah, like, and I'm sure he's cheap shot Sabretooth a few times. Guaranteed it's happened.
Oh yeah,
And
They've
Xavier,
got each other.
everyone.
Xavier.
Xavier.
Oh my
that's
god.
brutal.
What's up, Charles? Oh! No more, Logan. No more. Any other notes on this episode?
Nope.
Going once, going twice. I'm a double thumber.
Double thumber for me. I love the initial appearance of Nightcrawler.
And 2 little thumbs in there.
Too little.
Too little. Small thumb. I'm neutral on this one. Middle thumb.
Middle
Sorry.
thumb. Now we got a 2-parter here. Let me go back up. One Man's Worth. Episode 9. Trevor Fitzroy and Bantam travel back in time to 1959 to kill Professor X as Master Mold has ordered them. This creates an alternate timeline, a present timeline, where a mutant sentinel war has destroyed everything. Bishop and Shard arrive in an alternate present. Lots of alternates here. Where sentinels battle against the leader Magneto. His followers include husband and wife, Wolverine and Storm, Bishop and Shard. They recruit Wolverine and Storm to help them stop Fitzroy, but they will fail. Very similar to like a couple of seasons ago we had Days of Future Past, right? And it's kind of similar to that for me. Like I think Days of Future Past is kind of like the better version of this. I like aspects of this. I really enjoy Wolverine and Storm as a couple. I think it's just like an odd pairing, and I think that it's kind of like in comics where Wolverine kind of finally accepts like, okay, Jean and Scott, that's the end game couple. Like I feel like comics maybe did it as like, we have nothing to do with these characters, but I think there's something intriguing there where they're just so different personality wise. And Jean and Wolverine are too, but Storm is just something. Storm just feels like she doesn't need some of the assurance that Jean does, and that's because Jean has some also power sets that she needs some insurance and help. But Storm has it all pretty figured out right now, so. I like that aspect, but again, even the idea of you fail, you create another timeline, that was something that was kind of already touched upon. So I'm all down for the time travel episodes. Just feels like we've kind of been there, done that. My only big highlight is I fucking love the designs of some of those characters in the alternate universe.
Oh
Like,
baby.
really cool, Magneto. So I love that from a cool aspect. I think this has a lot of cool factors, but it's still, I think, like the lesser than time travel episode for me. So that's where I am on the One Man's Worth.
I found with the costumes, everyone was really, really cool. Like Gambit looked the same. He didn't have any cool features.
You look cool enough already.
Yeah.
Don't dress Mona Me like that. He likes
you-
his jacket.
You mentioned the team. I'm pretty sure I saw Mr. Sinister in there too,
Yes.
fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which
He
I was
was,
not
yeah.
expecting. That's a cool little twist.
It's dire straits when you got to team up with him. You know, that's when it's bad.
Yeah, that's what's really bad.
You don't want to team up with Mr. Sinister. It's bad. It's
Yeah.
real bad.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode and this 2-parter in general. To me, yeah, I think it's kind of been a big mixed bag when we do these time travel episodes where some of them are more interesting than others. And I think what I liked about this one is now that it's the 3rd time we've done this, 4th,
Yeah.
3rd
There's
time
like Days
maybe?
of Future Past. There's another one, and then there's this
Yeah.
one.
I feel like this one was like, okay, how can we differentiate from what we've already done previously? And I what I liked about this is I feel like the plot and the plan and everything that had to go on was a lot more complex than it was before, where there was like multiple instances of time travel. There's like different realities we're talking about here. Whereas I feel like the other ones have been really fun because you see all these different timelines. You get Forge and Bishop and these types of characters. But I feel like the actual goal is pretty linear. Like they pretty much just go back once in time and they like fix it what's going on there. But this was like all over the place, and there's like fake outs of like, oh, we did it, but then oh shit, there was some other backup plan, and that throws the whole thing again. We got to go to a different timeline, and then when you have like the villains going to different time than like when the heroes are, like you all have all this kind of complexity to it that I found really engaging. And then on top of that, like there's just a ton of different characters that appear here. Seeing the visuals of it. I don't know if I love Fitzroy as a villain. I don't think he's the most compelling, but I think it helps that there's multiple villains going on here. You know, obviously Nimrod's in there, Master Mold. Bantam, I don't even know if you'd call him a villain. I don't even know what he's. He's just he's
Just a
there.
lackey.
Yeah. But I feel like there's just so much going on, a little hard to follow, but that made it compelling. I like that it was a two-parter. I think if they'd shoved this into a one-parter, I think it would have end up being a more generic time travel story. But instead, they got some time to flesh it out.
Yeah, I really really like this two-parter. I think I'm not fully done with the Days of Future Past aspect of it yet. So I feel like it's just like a never-ending threat that it's just like there's a war going on, you know, beyond time, and it's just always going on. And Bishop's just he doesn't sleep. He loses his sister one day, he sees her the next day. It's just like this guy has a interesting existence. I'm excited knowing that he'll possibly have a bigger role in '97. But
Not
no,
much
I
harmonica this time either. Remember, every other time it's been like hard harmonica.
yeah, no, exactly.
yeah,
That's right.
true.
they
it's a different
settled
vibe
down on the
this time around.
harmonica.
Yeah.
The executives were like, enough of that. We've heard too much of the harmonica.
I think like the badass factor is just turned way up on these like apocalyptic moments when everyone's got like Beast with his like his little eyeglass thing. He's got these like metal
I love
attire.
Beast, yeah.
Just everyone's outfits was super super sick. Maybe Gambit a little bit less, like Taylor mentioned, but I don't know. It's just I see these as almost like a what if scenario. So it's just cool to
Yes.
have like Sinister with the team and Magneto being the leader of everyone like in that war against I guess like the Sentinels and the Superhumans, and just seeing what the world looks like that's just a fun aspect. I feel like if this was the show, I'm I'd be kind of done with it, but I like having these sprinkled throughout the different seasons. And I mean probably through Travis, you telling me that Storm and Wolverine get together at some point, so to actually see it here, I really enjoyed that too. I feel like actually seeing it, it's like, man, they actually make a lot of sense to be a couple here. So I just enjoyed that. I found it pretty funny too how they really try to hit us over the head like these two are married now, because it's like they're embracing, and there's like a zoom in of like the ring on Wolverine's hand, and then like the zoom in on Storm's
on
hand.
both,
It's like,
right?
we get it. Yeah, we get it.
They're trying to convert the kids. Like, don't have sex till marriage. They are married. They're married.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I don't know. It was fun adventure. It was fun to see Xavier in kind of that like I don't know, backpedal mode of like him not really wanting to be a part of this because it's just so foreign to him. It reminds me of the live action Days of Future Past.
Very
when he's
much
just
so,
super
yeah.
not wanting to be involved with it. So that was cool. So I think just all of these different factors made me really enjoy this one. I don't know where I'd compare it between like the original Days of Future Past time trippy scenes, but there's a lot of like emotional stuff too, especially once we get into part 2 with Wolverine and Storm that we'll get to.
I feel like the live action movie is almost like a combo of these 3 time travel episodes. Like each of them, like this episode, like all that stuff with Charles with both of them, it feels identical to the movie of he's young, doesn't really give a fuck. In that movie, they make him like a drug addict, but obviously they weren't going to do this Saturday morning cartoon, but bunch of parallels. Bunch of parallels.
Just living on the streets, the homeless man shooting
Fuck
up.
the X-Men. Kill Nightcrawler. Yeah.
I thought that I'd be getting exhausted with them changing these like history again with the time travel and stuff and doing it again and again and again. I was not though with this because this is
Nice.
pleasantly a surprise, and I definitely. I find Bishop to be interesting, but I always feel like he just comes into a situation freaking the fuck out. It's like, man, you got to have some context in these cases because not everyone's gonna fully understand what's going on.
He's
You
been
need
through
to
a lot,
chill.
man. How many
He's
times?
been through a fucking
How many
lot.
times he's?
I'll give him that.
And he's always on the clock. That's the other reason too. You know, he's
He is
always on the clock. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's definitely got a lot going on. The highlight too was you getting like
Bishop,
the
a lot going on.
this was like legit like Marvel's What If, and I really did like that more than what we got in like other What If time changing scenarios. And I think because when we learn more, it's like it's Master Mold, but just in this sense where it's not an apocalypse or something like that. It's just it's not. It's so much more different. It's not your classic like the Sentinels, but it's not even just basically humanity. The villains, and I didn't know that this was them, but the villains when they came in this episode was the Avengers, and they were like the non-human heroes or whatever fighting with them. And you had like Captain America, Scarlet Spider, Iron Man, Goliath, Wasp, Black Widow, Hercules, and that totally went over my head. But I thought that is so freaking cool to have them coming in and like fighting the mutants, the X-Men, and I wish so bad that we actually got to expand on that because that is such a very cool what if scenario. So
I think I'm very curious with X-Men 97 coming back and if What If continues, if they'll ever play around with that scenario. Even just doing something like what if the X-Men 97 crew was in the Sacred Timeline or something. Because clearly I think we all kind of agree that now with like X-Men come the MCU, it might be some sort of reboot or a soft reboot even and start the universe. So I wonder if they could like place the 97 X-Men into a story or something. So I don't know for sure. Just people say that the animation style looks like the old school show. So I don't know how it would mesh with this, but I think there's room there for something to play, even one episode. Because yeah, imagine just like the MCU X-Men versus the animated X-Men. That'd be fun right there. Make some reason up. Like that's a mega what if episode. That's the poster of season 3. You get 97 and X-Men on one side. That's just tons of fun. And of course they become friends and they work together. But yeah, good call outs. Where you guys want to go?
Yeah, I guess just a couple of shoutouts for that big battle scene, which was a lot of fun. Like Nightcrawler pops in there once again. I don't think he has a line of dialogue, if I can remember. I feel like he's just teleporting around.
Incredible
like,
Nightcrawler is just shouting it out as he's
don't forget it. And then Magneto in there too. I feel like Magneto had the long hair going on, which is like the look that he has.
Like a big goatee too, eh?
Oh, I missed the goatee actually, but
I missed, like, was it under the mask? Because he had a mask on.
He had
too.
facial scruff. You could see it.
Okay. But
Yeah,
yes, like the
weathered,
long hair he's going to
weathered.
have in this show. So it's kind of funny because he's in the X-Men. So
Yeah.
it's like anytime, I guess he always says like long hair, but this was like the long, like to
Yes.
his shoulders long. So anytime he's a good guy, he's like, I got to grow it out. That's my look, you know?
Yeah, I just like that scene of the X-Men working together to protect Magneto. And I just found that whole battle to be pretty fun, even if it was against just... Well, I guess there was a variety of opposition there. A lot of it was just fighting robots and whatnot, but they were cool-looking robots at the very least.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like that. I think all that stuff for me works. It's all fun time. Like I think it's again, I might sound like more down on it. Still enjoyed the episode, but they deliver on some of these set pieces and visually. I forgot about Beast. You guys shout Beast. Yeah, he had a good, really cool look.
so
Like looks that I would love as alternate costumes in some sort of X-Men game. You know, so
Yeah. How do you guys feel about Shard as a character? Bishop's sister over here just feels like incredibly bland to me, and obviously she doesn't make it through the end of the season here. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I thought she had, like, I don't know, her look was all right. I guess I'm just feeling like underwhelmed by the character, and I'm curious what the reason was to kind of even add her in the equation here. I didn't feel like, I guess other than the stakes for Bishop, I don't know if there was much reason to get her in there.
Even
Maybe that's
then,
reason enough.
it's not like he reacts like much at all. Like when she dies, it's not like a big emotional tie for him. It just seemed like a buddy to have on this adventure, and then she just perishes.
Because I
he
guess
knows
that
he can go
was like,
save her again at some point. You know.
It was yeah. Instead of like that being a big emotional focus, instead that was like where they did the reveal that like that was my sister and like all this stuff. Because I didn't think that was. I don't think it's mentioned like prior to that. So it almost takes away from the emotional stakes of the moment because instead you're just getting like a plot twist reveal at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do much, and I just laughed because I just don't think Shard is the greatest superhero mutant name. Like, what's your name? I'm Shard. Like, not just because it sounds like close to Shard. It's just Shard. It's just I don't know. It's just cool.
What are her
so
powers exactly?
yeah, let's find out here. I imagine they're probably like
Agility,
a copy of
stamina.
yeah, super strength. Yeah, can grow
Enhanced
little clones out
endurance.
of her back. No,
I'd be down for
Let's-
that.
Here's the
Let's
image
see
of Magneto from the dark future. Look
oh
at that.
yeah, he had a
Okay,
big
yeah,
goatee
yeah.
going on.
Fucking
Yeah.
badass.
And that
Oh,
fucking
just-
guy in the driver's seat of that. But a little morph-like, actually. I don't know.
He did. Maybe that is more. It really does look like him, actually. Different hair.
What's on Magneto's like waist? Is that on his waist or is that like
Oh, that's some like Omega Red.
He's killed Omega
attachments.
Red.
Just wearing them.
it's not on
Yeah.
his cock? Hopefully, just
Oh,
That is his cog.
Just
I love,
saying.
I clicked on the powers for this episode, and then it just said seemingly those of the Shard Bishop of Earth 1191. So okay, I gotta go find that, but it's just, like, they couldn't tell me. But it's like, oh, it's the same as that one. Yeah, I think it's just some similar things to her brother, but I'm not finding much actually. It's like specific stuff. I'll keep digging.
I really.
Oh, jeez Louise.
Whoa, what?
They just use a very spicy photo for on Marvel Wiki here. Concussive
Yeah, they
blast.
do.
Yeah, it's
Jesus
ass on front
Christ.
center. It's like boom, concussive blast,
I
laser
gotta see
blast,
this.
illumination, enhanced attributes, and a holographic intangibility. I don't know what that means. Shard was a life form based on particles of a light called the photon. She could
Picture's
control her.
so weird.
It's like a Playboy cover. She can control her density at will and use the powers to pass through solid objects. Okay, so there you go.
Okay.
I wish I
Kind of
could
like the
see some of
Flash.
that.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, like the Flash. Yeah, she can phase, and she's got a fat ass.
That thigh.
Yeah,
thigh
And it
is
glistens
insane.
in the sun.
yeah, the
Even if
Marvel,
there's no sun.
the Marvel artists back in the '80s were a little spicy.
going off,
so-
yeah.
Big Shard
Yeah.
fans.
Big Shard
I-
fans. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked about the Wolverine and Storm relationship. It's a lot of fun. I like all of that, and I think it also just adds a really good tension to the episode too. That they agree to help after being convinced. They were definitely not just like on board right away. It took some convincing from Bishop. He has a high persuasion stat over here.
Yeah.
But I really like that. Okay, if this mission is going to be successful, they know that means that they won't be together anymore. I mean, I guess they won't. They will cease to exist. They don't even seem to care about that. It's more about the fact that they won't be together anymore. I think that's very compelling and kind of wholesome at the same time, but also quite sad. And obviously, there's maybe a hopeful ending for that in the future when we get back to our actual proper timeline. I'll say, but I really like that. That's kind of set up in this first part, and obviously that does end up happening in part 2 later on.
Yeah, and I could be crossing wires, but I'll just say here because we're talking about it. I think it's a part 2, but if not, I'll cover my bases. Where I like that they've kind of like read their minds or something, and like they get some answer, some solution where they know one of them don't really want the mission to succeed, and it's Wolverine, and he's like, just because like I don't want to succeed doesn't mean I'm gonna sabotage. And Bishop's like, oh, can I trust you? But I like that Wolverine's like, he knows it's for the greater good, he'll still do it. But like when you ask him a lie detector, like what does he want? He doesn't actually want the mission to succeed. He'll do it because he's an X-Men and it's for the greater good, but he wants that to happen because then the marriage is gone and it's over. So and then there we get something. But yeah, again, fun dynamic.
That was like the emotional thing that I was mentioning too. It's concluded at the end of the next part, but just that whole dynamic of like we have to save the whole world, but in his eyes, it's like it doesn't matter 'cause she's his whole world, and it was just I don't know, it was cool.
Anything else on episode 1?
What else on episode? I mean,
I
just anytime Bantam spoke, I was cracking up. I liked all of like he had just that very high pitched kind of squirrely voice, and he only ever spoke when he was about to get tossed into a portal. So whatever he's saying gets like cut off, and he's like, "Watch out, master! I bruise easily." And he just like fades in the distance. Just anything he said just had me. So I loved that character, and it was weird because I didn't feel like he had much of a purpose at all. He was a bit of a sidekick for Fitzroy, but then were they a couple too? I couldn't get a vibe. I had a bit of that vibe. I'm not sure what's going on, but whatever was going on, I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, it's kind of down the line. I think you could have gone either way.
Yeah.
I like the slow mo like cliffhanger of an
Oh,
ending that this
yeah.
had. This I don't know what era it reminded me of, but it reminded me of a certain era of just that slow mo like oh my god like his face like lit up too, just like the close up of I think it was Wolverine. Actually, I think they all were kind of reacting to it, so that was just not an X-Men ending I was expecting to see, and then obviously Charles just fucking fried in that moment.
End of
Yeah.
the series, just.
It was a jaw dropper for sure.
It was, and we feel like we haven't had a huge cliffhanger quite like that before. I love too that like because of the animation, I'm sure it would have been like super expensive to actually do slow mo. You just have to do like a bunch more frames, I suppose. So instead, they just like did it as a slideshow. It was very funny the way they decided to portray that.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
That might be
Anything
all
else?
for me.
That's it. I'll give it a thumb and a half. That's what I'll do.
I think I'm going one clean thumb up. A nice clean thumb up. Yeah.
I'll do thumb and a half.
I got 2 thumbs in the game.
Oh,
There you go, 2 thumbs game. Part 2, failing to stop the assassination of Xavier, as we just talked about it. Bishop, Shard, Storm, Wolverine travel forward to the future. A future changed so much that Forge's time travel machine has never been tested, and Forge has no idea who all 4 of these time travels are. After they convince Forge, they go back a few minutes before Xavier dies, save him, and everything reverts back to normal. Yeah, I don't think I have too much like more to like. I think it's more of the same. I think it's good. It's good. I like the idea of time traveling upon time traveling. So I think it's a good solid finale here. I think the stuff I like the most is what we can't talk about Wolverine Storm. There's a nice little ending there with Xavier looking upon them and Storm being like, anytime you want to wrestle, which was a weird thing for Storm to say, but sure.
Yeah, a little
but-
flirting going on at the end. And
yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed the episode, but I don't have too much because I feel like it's a bit more not act. I feel like the Wikipedia laid it out pretty swell of what happens, but
Yeah, it was a pretty cohesive 2-parter, but I think I enjoyed it like just as much as the first one. Felt like it's a good one to watch back to back with each other because it is one nice, just longer story.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this episode. Feel like I'm pretty similar, honestly. Feelings from the first one. It probably just goes to show how well they sunk together. I really like too, like the dynamic of them showing like Fitzroy like an image of himself, like basically talking him off the ledge. And like in that moment I was like, would he think this is just like a trick to like for them to kind of beat him in that sense? But he actually was like, wait a minute, maybe Master Mold is gonna fuck me over. And I don't know, it seemed like a believable kind of reaction to it as opposed to just being like, I don't care, I'm gonna do it anyways. So I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of new things thrown at me in this particular episode. And of course, like the ending, like I said, was pretty emotional for the Storm and Wolverine.
Yeah, definitely some flirting going on between them. So maybe that that was in one timeline, but who's to say it won't still happen in this timeline? Unless technically she's Black Panther, right? That's kind of where that goes.
not here though.
Not in this timeline.
Not in this timeline.
They've
Okay,
also
so
gotten
there's
divorced, so they could have been
Oh.
divorced.
Well, that's true. But yeah, I think getting Master Mold in here and stuff. I feel like this is more between the other Master Mold episode and this one. I like this one a little bit more, but he's just kind of having other people do his dirty work, and I think it was very clever to have a past version of yourself. I can't remember the guy, but the guy with the little dude. The 2 time traveler guys that
Fitzroy
blew
and
up.
Bantam.
Fitzroy and the other dude. Sorry,
Bantam.
Bantam. Thank you. I couldn't hear what you said that name, but the 2 of them just kind of like Bantam is always just cowering, like I don't want to die, and Fitzroy just having this because he gave it to Bishop, and then Bishop had to play the thing, and it's like Fitzroy, like you're gonna get bopped, which also makes me think word for word, why would Master Mold talk out to his team, not his team, but the other AI that's there, and just be like, hey, after this is done, kill them. And like they're right outside the fucking room and they're eavesdropping and listening in, like not like Master Mold
Critical error
had this.
for Master Mold.
Totally a critical error. He had them dead to rights. He would have killed the X-Men, and he would have done it. But no, he just got ahead of himself.
He doesn't have ears, right? So like I feel like Master Mold's perception of how loud things are is probably pretty
Just
bad.
shouting.
And he's
all
speaking
the
to
time.
Nimrod as well. Like
Kill
imagine
them
he's
when the
talking,
mission's
Nimrod's
done.
like, louder, please, louder, Master Mold. And he's just blaring it on like all radio signals across the world at the same time.
He thinks he's so clever. And when they're done, kill them.
But you're right. Like they were barely out of the room when he started that sentence too. It's like,
Yeah, they were totally still there.
He did not cover his bases very well.
But like
Big
shoutouts
thunder.
to them for double backing and just like listening in on the door. I think that again that just goes to show that they didn't fully trust him. But again, the whole thing was just based off of I feel like insecurity, because Master Mold's plan was this happens, and does this Master Mold know that he executed this plan, or does like Fitzroy just like pop up and be like, hey, I did this. You have to believe me. But then I guess didn't Master Mold have another character with them? Was that Nimrod that was there and
Nimrod
could
is
vouch
the
for him?
other guy, yeah.
Okay, so then he was
vouch
the
for him.
witness that could vouch for it then. It seemed very convoluted, and I feel like Master Mold just couldn't trust anyone in this situation. But
It was all very. That is the most Saturday morning cartoon stuff where it's just, and because it's tough. I like the idea of that's how you're going to get them to turn is you're going to tell them that, hey, when this is over, they're going to betray you and kill you. How we got there, that's a little rocky, but I like that idea of, okay, you see us over there? Why would we be time traveling right now? Like, I think there was a way they could have done it without making like Master Mold look like not a master, like could have found some sort of way or hack into a camera, but again, it worked for what they were trying to get to. So
it felt very Terminator-ish at times too with Nimrod, because like when not the Avengers, the X-Men get there, the secondary team of X-Men get there, and they arrive and they're trying to tell Xavier, and Xavier, I think he runs at this point, and then they catch him. Or maybe it was before that. But
they bop him.
Yeah, they open up. He opens up the door and his lady friend comes in.
Cindy. Oh my god, I laughed so hard at that scene. I love when Nimrod just like fools them by like portray, especially like he acts into it, like he does some reactions like, "Oh, Charles, who are your friends here?" And then right in front of them just turns into Nimrod again, like the fucking blank face Nimrod that's just like a death bot. It gets me every time when Nimrod just fucks with their brains like that.
So good.
Oh, damn.
One moment I love, I think it's earlier on in the episode. I forget what the situation was. The cops are they're apprehending the X-Men. Then of course Storm pops off to save them, but she does her classic thing. She's like, "Tornado, take these misguided souls!" And then I love she just scoops up all these cops in a fucking tornado, and they've secured their win, they're good to go, and they just have a whole conversation. And I feel like for various minutes, these cops are just up in this tornado.
Oh, yeah.
It's at any point they could collide and just, I feel die at any second.
Oh, yeah.
But she just leaves them there, and they even go off into this other timeline, and she doesn't drop them at first. I'm like, is she just gonna leave these guys in her tornado forever, and then eventually drops them out? And they're all good, of course, but I guess that just shows how good she is with her powers, that she can just so precisely make that strength of tornado. But I loved how long she left them up there for.
Can you imagine if you're just a cop, you got these guys did the rights, and just from the top, from the power of all, you look up, this woman's floating, and you just say, and then what happened to you, John?
Face.
Yeah. And what happened to you next, John? She put me into a human tornado with the other cop buddies.
Oh my god! I liked the other. We saw a Sentinel that was teal, white, and red, had a different color scheme going on.
Yeah, it was cool.
I thought looked really nice, especially that shade of teal was really cool. Speaking of weird looks, Wolverine, I don't know what it was, more so in this episode, but it just looked like he had eyeshadow on. His eyes were especially accentuated. And I'm just I don't know, was that just okay, another artist did this Wolverine and put some more black line on there? Or are we meant to believe that this alternate timeline Wolverine is applying makeup? Because I just feel like Wolverine, not the kind of guy to ever get to a point where he would be putting makeup on. And so I like that little stylistic choice.
It was a suggestion from Storm.
Anytime it was zoomed in on his face, it stood out to me. It was slightly off-putting. It was just felt wrong for some reason.
It's kind of like what Solar had too, right? The little blacks around his eyes, and I don't know. I like the look. I feel like it just fit his outfit. Like I said, maybe it's a Storm influence. Just you gotta put this on to really accent your eyes. He's a married man, We make different decisions.
Is he married? I missed that.
Yeah, they had rings.
Oh yeah, I was joking because you were talking about. Remember how they kept zooming in on and everything?
You fucking got me. I was like, you dummy.
By the window.
You will marry me by the window.
All right.
I think that's kind of it for me because my other notes we kind of talked about through episode 1. So yeah.
Me too. Yeah. With Xavier, obviously at the end, because no one else seems to know what happened. Wolverine and Storm just kind of carry on with their picnic, and the ants too. Fucking what does he say? I wrote that quote down too. I love those one-line ants. You think we could just attract ants like normal people? That's when shit was going sideways. That might have been in actually the other episode. But
that was the part 1. Yeah.
Yeah. He So they're fine. Everything's back to normal with their picnic, and then Xavier has the memory of what unfolded. I think it's weird because if you were just if everyone reverted to normal, but obviously they don't have a recollection of what happened in the past, Xavier's just normal, and then all of a sudden it just like kicks him in the like in the mind where like these two were a thing. Oh my god, like yeah, and he's just now he's
Cindy.
dreaming about them. Not Cindy, Storm and Wolverine. How he just
No, he's thinking
immediately
about
has them in his head.
God, the 50s were great. I think it is a little tough because like they traveled back, right? Are they like?
But like Storm and Wolverine, when they went to the future, they didn't have any recollection of their old version,
yes,
and then vice versa.
I feel like he shouldn't be able to have these memories.
I agree.
Yeah,
He
if you're
shouldn't.
trying to say, I agree. I think there's other times they've done that. It makes sense. I don't think this time it made sense for me. Like he still was like, oh, they were married. It's like that's like a whole alternate timeline that you shouldn't even have access to yet. So
Is that like
Just
the
that
healing
powerful.
factor? Maybe
maybe.
retain some memories and so
Yeah.
on.
Do you think Charles now like subliminally tries to put them together because he knows they got married? So he's like, oh, you guys should go on some missions together.
Ski trip. You go
Yeah,
on
he's
a
like, I
ski
fucked
trip.
up with that ski trip. I should have sent Storm on that.
No
too.
chaperone this time. You know,
Yeah.
like just putting them in these scenarios. I
Yeah.
would.
The ultimate
can't tell him,
matchmaker, Professor
Yeah.
Xavier.
You can't tell him though, because Wolverine would rebuff. I wouldn't get married. I'm not the married type.
Wolverine would hit him, do his thing.
Oh, I'm glad you said him. I was really worried. I wouldn't marry her. Adamantium, and then Storm just fucks him up and puts him in for a tornado for 8 years.
Yeah.
No, or
You don't
I
fuck with
forgive.
Storm.
No,
No
you don't.
cheap shotter.
He's metal. She's gonna fry him up, boy.
Oh yeah.
People are gonna be cooking steaks off his bones when she's done with them, and he'll keep healing. Ah, I smell like sauce.
You know what happens? You know what happens when lightning hits vibranium? Same as everything else.
Yeah, it actually like bounces back and hits her.
Oh no.
Not today, Snake.
What exactly is Fitzroy's powers?
No idea.
Bombs.
I don't know. Like especially like when he grabbed Charles and just like you'll recover in a few days. Like I did I miss something there or is it just kind
Let's
of
find out.
ambiguous? Because he
I don't
definitely
know,
seems
when
like
you
he makes portals to like jump to other timelines or something.
That's
When you
true. Yeah,
search-
maybe he's got portals timeline.
When you search him, there's just a big picture of his ass. No, I'm joking. It's the same pose as Shard.
just as shiny.
Yeah. Temporal wormholes.
Nice.
Time alteration, time stopping. Oh, has the ability to freeze people in a type of status. Status.
Okay. Status.
Yeah, and a status.
He's single
yeah.
status.
fucking powerful.
I'm married. No, it's frozen.
He had a
you're
romantic relationship with Shard. There you go.
Shit, where's that
Oh,
part of the
just
Well, I wish
episode?
we got a little bit of that in the
Yeah.
episode.
He's
I love
also,
time stopping.
I think, so he's the illegitimate son of Anthony Shaw, but it says the future Black King of the Hellfire Club. So does that mean
Oh,
like
shit.
Fitzroy is the future king or his father was? I can't remember who the king.
I think he.
or
It sounds like
was.
Must
he
be
is.
Fitzroy. Yeah.
Yeah. On the at his 10 scale, he's pretty weak though. Intelligence 2, strength 4, speed 3, energy projection 5, fighting skills 2, durability 7. So, and
Oh,
these are
Two intelligence. So.
ratings.
Why is he so durable? Is that because he can like teleport away?
ratings while armored? So I'm not sure if this armor has anything to do with that.
Okay, he's got
So-
some future tech armor. I guess that
Yeah.
would be a big advantage if you could go in the future and just get like the highest technology that exists and apply it to yourself.
But
you'd be good to go.
Is this like all the stats? Like when he doesn't have armor, his intelligence is like
Yeah,
0.
you would
He's
think
like,
he can get like some microchip in his head too. but-
yeah, he's just like a buffoon. Can't even do 1 + 1, but there
Damn
you go.
baboons.
Yeah,
Yeah, 2 intelligence. Like that's
out of 10.
that's horrendous. So
Yeah.
I guess we can't. He wouldn't be smart enough to go do that.
Like
Is
unless
that, is
the
that why
scales-
Bantam's there? Is Bantam like a 10 out of 10 intelligence?
Probably.
Let's find out.
Bantam, it seems like he can control and monitor or catalog and monitor portal activity. So he's like ideal
Ooh,
for time
okay.
travel.
That's his power to
pairing.
catalog.
Chronal anchor is what it
That's
says.
not a that's not power.
Temporal
That's a job.
sensitivity.
That's a
Yeah, that's a
job.
job.
Catalog time travel. That's not
That
a
is so
Your power
weird.
They call it a
is
power to
catalog.
make him feel better.
I
Yeah.
would be
Oh,
so
your power's
disappointed if that was
cataloging.
my power. Like I can't do the fun thing, but I am just like a fucking
I'll
Excel
tell you about it.
spreadsheet on
Yeah.
the thing that this other guy uses. No
He's
wonder they're
green like
stuck
Excel as
together.
well.
Taylor,
Yeah, he really got the short end of the stick on that.
I don't think all of them has it because I still have the page for Watchdog and he does not have it. Does he have a character ability list like grid or no?
Character ability list.
Like out of 10, like a intelligence 2, etc. or no?
Oh,
Stat
I
sheet.
don't
Yeah.
see it on
Okay.
here. No.
Yeah, it's all over the place of which characters they do it for, which characters they don't.
I'm
so.
thinking. I'm gonna guess he's a 7 on the intelligence scale, so that's good enough.
Like even Cable doesn't have one. Why did they decide? Like what wiki user decide? You know what?
Some big
Fitzroy should
professional
have a
fan.
power guide. They just want us to know his intelligence was 2. Like fuck Fitzroy. That's it. That's all I got.
That's all.
That's it. That's all.
Thumb and a half for me.
Just going another big thumb for me. Yep.
I'll do another thumb and a half. I definitely feel the same as the part 1.
There you go.
I'm a thumb and a half.
Nice.
There you go. Well, we
Travis
got-
didn't want to hear your thoughts.
Sorry. Catalog it for me and let me know. Well, we are moving on to the. I think is it the final 5? How many episodes? Or no, not the final 5 because there are 16. Okay, not the final 5, but we got some good episodes coming up because finally we're gonna have our first appearance of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the X-Men animated series. So that's what you can look forward to next time.
Well, we got a glimpse of them, right? We
Yeah,
saw like a
yeah.
frame, but
They get some lines here,
Good to
you
hear
know,
them
some
talk, yeah.
exactly. So until then, it will not be boring.
See ya.
Bye.